Thanks to President Trump's trade war on China, Chinese manufacturers are now trying to sell high-end luxury goods like handbags directly to Americans on TikTok. Fox 11's Gina Silva is live in Beverly Hills with that part of the story. Gina.
Laura, I don't know if you've seen the videos, but they are wild. And I got to tell you, many American consumers are loving it because why not? Who doesn't love a good deal, right?
Some say as long as there's a tag saying made in China, the bag can never be luxury. However, in fact, more than 80% of the luxury bags in the world are made in China.
I want to know who's the Chinese factory behind Nike, Adidas, Fila, and UGG?
All over TikTok, Chinese influencers are taking viewers behind the scenes, exposing what they claim is a real origin of high-end luxury goods. The viral videos are shaking up traditional luxury branding and destroying consumer trust, revealing that many designer products are actually manufactured in Chinese factories, with only the labels stitched on somewhere else. All of these videos suddenly started showing up all over social media after President Trump announced high tariffs on China. While many American consumers are seeing this as a huge score on designer goods, Professor Christopher Tang of UCLA's Anderson School of Management says the videos may not be as honest as they seem.
It could be counterfeit or imitated products as well. So in that case, there's no consumer protection. These are not the authorized luxury brand channel. So in that case, the buyers, you have to beware of the risk.
This is my fake Louis bag. I take it everywhere I go. I love it. Years ago I had the opportunity to actually go to Beijing, and that is when I found out exactly what the game was. I went to factories where they had nothing but floors of Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Chanel, Nike, Adidas, Apple products. And that's where I learned directly from the vendors that, hey, this is the same thing. You're just paying for a label and repackaging in the U.S.
Good old low-down, dirty China. We're going to dig into this one. But before we do, I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. Show us some love. We appreciate it. You know, a lot of people think that Donald Trump is going a little bit too far with this trade war tariff thing. But when it comes to China, you know, last time I did a video, I said that I wasn't really feeling it 100%. Because, you know, we get a lot of stuff from China, and I know a lot of people depend on it, especially businesses. In response to the tariffs, you got a lot of Chinese companies now, or a lot of Chinese manufacturers deciding that they're not going to take the hit. You know, a lot of us U.S. companies or U.S. Traders are taking a hit, but the Chinese people, they figure, you know what, we'll go directly to consumer and Americans will buy it up because the prices are so much lower. Which, I mean, there's a feeding frenzy right now on name brand products, and most of them come out of China. And I've experienced some of this. I've gotten some products that were not labeled, but they were obviously good quality. And, you know, I bought it at a steep discount, either through Temu or one of the other Chinese distributors like Alibaba or whatever. And, you know, you get good products and you can tell that they're the real thing that you're normally buying. But when they don't have that logo on it, you don't have as much confidence. So that's one of the things when it comes to being Americans. We put a whole lot of value on labels. And it's starting to come back and bite us in the butt now because these tariffs have exposed how much we spend on just a label. The product is coming from the same source. I had to teach my children recently that, you know, look on the back of the product and sometimes you'll see that the ingredients are almost the same, very much identical. And so you're paying for that name and it may be 20, 30% more just for the name. A friend of mine was telling me he just purchased some Jordans for, you know, $20, some Rolex watches for, you know, $60, you know, some really expensive NFL jerseys for, you know, $15. And this stuff costs hundreds and hundreds. And in some cases, one of the Rolex watches he showed me costs in the 50,000s. But, you know, he was able to get this watch for $60. And it's authentic, you know. So right now, I don't know what to make of this. You know, on one hand, Americans are waking up to the fact that they're overvaluing, you know, brands and labels, which is a good thing for us to, you know, open our eyes to. But at the same time, it's unfair to these companies for China to come in and do this, you know, the way that they're doing.
You are over here as an American company. You come up with a design. You do all this R&D to make sure it's a safe product. It's an effective product. And then you bring it to market here and in China. And in China, here you'd be protected by certain copyright laws or, you know, whatever you're using to protect your IP. But over there, you don't have that protection. So they just knock it off and they start selling it for cheap. That's what you're saying, that there's no respect for your IP.
Well, it's worse. Maybe when they're young, they're taught this is completely fair to do this. You steal, you cheat. It's part of the psyche of how you build your economy. It doesn't matter that it wasn't your idea or that you spent millions of dollars in R&D to create it. They simply don't give a shit. And that is what we have to fix. Because if they want to play with the big boys, including trading in Europe and everything else, stealing everybody's IP and then selling it back into those markets and flooding the markets with the exact same product at usually a 30 to 40% discount with no consequences is going to end up in a very bad place for everybody.
I know if I'm sending my product over to China, I want to keep my ideas. And what you heard in that video was the acronym IP, which stands for intellectual property, and then you heard R&D, which stands for research and development. So, you know, when I do the research and development to develop my product, I want to keep my intellectual property, my ideas. And if you send it over to China to get it produced, basically what they're saying is up to $5 million, China doesn't have access. But once it sells $5 million worth, China has full access to your product and they can sell it, you know, as their own. So, and there's nothing you can do about it because the Chinese government makes their rules and American laws don't affect Chinese laws. And so this is why Trump is so hard on the Chinese, and I don't blame him. What do y'all think? Do you think China deserves, you know, the harsh treatment that they're getting? Let me know. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do and share this with your friends. Maybe you can get some, you know, some good deals right about now. Peace.